Drifting records of fermented skate merchant. Munsundik was a fermented skate merchant who sold skate on land in Wedo, Jeollanam-do. In December 1801, when he was 24 years old, he left Wedo with his uncle and 4 sailors to load skates. On January 18, when the year changed, while on his way to Yongsampo, he encountered strong waves due to a strong wind blowing from the northwest. He was pushed south on the sea route of hundreds of miles, and when he looked ahead, he saw a vast ocean with not a single dot on the horizon, as recorded in the records. He spent the whole night with his eyes wide open, and the sun came up. He saw a large mountain to the southeast and knew it was Jeju. But the wind blocked his way, so he couldn't approach and was pushed away. After drifting on the vast ocean for about 10 days, he looked around and saw a large island to the southeast. The place where they drifted was Otoko Island of the Ryukyu Kingdom. Otoko Island is now known as Amami-Oshima Island. The Ryukyu Kingdom was a kingdom that engaged in maritime trade in the East Asian seas at the time. The drifters received the kindness of the local people, such as being provided with housing and food. They spent 2 months moving from Otoko Island to Okinawa, and 6 months in Tamari Village, Naha City, Okinawa Island. They stayed in the Ryukyu Kingdom for a total of 8 months, learning the Ryukyu language and getting a glimpse into the lives of the locals. In particular, they attended funerals and observed the tattoos that women had on their bodies. They were waiting for the day they could return to their homeland. And one day in October 1802, they boarded a tribute ship heading for China. Ryukyu Kingdom, which had been in contact since the Goryeo dynasty, repatriated Choseon drifters on tribute ships heading for China. They set sail with 3 ships, but a strong wind from the west encountered a storm again. The ships drifted aimlessly until they encountered an east wind, and drifted west for more than 10 days. In the meantime, the 3 ships were scattered, and 2 were lost, and only the ship carrying Munsundik and his party arrived in the far southern land. That was November 1, 1802. It was a place called Vigan on Luzon Island, which was ruled by the Spanish Empire. It was called Yosong, but at the time, there was no contact with Choseon. The city of Vigan was built in 1572 and was the center of the Christian faith, with a cathedral. It was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1999. The people of Vigan did not treat the drifting Munsundik and his party as kindly as the Ryukyuan people. However, they were kind enough to share cigarettes and rum. One day in February 1802, while they were living in a local Chinese village, 4 of the party left for China first due to a conflict between the Ryukyuans and Chinese merchants. Only Munsundik and 1 crew member were left in Vigan. Munsundik stayed there for 9 months. He learned the Ilocano language, which was commonly used in the northern part of Luzon Island, and made money by selling kite strings made of twisted ropes. He was a talented young man who made a living and earned his fare. He also experienced the lives of the locals, and curiously observed the ships coming and going from the port. What particularly caught his eye was the St. Paul's Cathedral, the greatest building of its time. In Pyohesimo written by Jong Yak John, it is written that a tower was built in front of one peak of the shrine, and a golden pheasant was set up on top of the tower so that its head would turn in the direction the wind was blowing. Finally, in May 1803, he heard news that a merchant ship had arrived from Guangdong. And 3 months later, on August 28, 1803, he paid 12 niang of silver for the fare, and departed from Vigan Port, and arrived at Oman, Guangdong Province, and Macau in just 11 days via Manila. In the port, you can see huge ships with flags of each country. and see houses built in layers that number tens of thousands of units. The scenery of Macau, where Munsundiok first set foot, was truly a small Europe in Asia, dyed in exotic culture. After receiving the grand hospitality of the Macau government, he returned home on December 7, after 3 months. Afterwards, he went through Nanjing and crossed the continent to Yanjing, where 6 months had passed. He stayed there for another 6 months until the Chozian envoy arrived. He finally met the envoys from Chozian and set off on his journey, passing through Chukmun and arriving at Weiju, which took only 3 days. He arrived in Hanyang in December 1804 and finally returned to Wedo Island, which he had dreamed of, in January 1805. It had been 3 years and 2 months since he had drifted due to a storm. After returning, he met Zhang Yakzhan, who was in exile. Zhang Yakzhan, a Silhak scholar who had heard of Munsundiok's drifting experience, systematically organized the contents and wrote. It is characterized by the fact that it focuses on the lifestyles of each country. Munsundiok stayed in the area where he drifted for a long time. Therefore, the book contains a lot of observations based on his practical experiences. In particular, the funeral culture of the Ryukyu Kingdom, traditional clothing by social status, the lifestyle of the Filipinos who enjoy cockfighting, religion, house structures, and descriptions of trading ships in Macau and the way merchants use currency. It is full of interesting content that cannot be found in any other records. It also records Korean translations of foreign languages. Munsundiok's experience of Western culture must have been very special for a Chozian person at the time. Even though his drifting area was Southeast Asia, at the time, the Joseon Kingdom was ruled by Spain, and Macau was a port city built by Portugal. What he experienced and saw while staying in an area that served as a bridgehead for Western civilization in Asia must have been a cultural shock that Chozian society could not have imagined. Zhang Yakzhan, who highly praised Munsundiok's actions during his period of drift, gave him the nickname Chancho. This probably means the first in the world. Munsundiok's name also appears in the annals of King Sunjo. In August 1801, 5 foreigners drifted to Jeju. The Chozian government was unable to determine their nationality, and they stayed in Jeju for 9 years. As Munsundiok's story became known to the government, Munsundiok and the Jeju drifters met face to face. After communicating in Ilocano, they confirmed that they were from Joseon. Finally, they were able to return to their homeland. Could we say he was the first Filipino interpreter? In 1835, the first year of King Hyeonjong's reign, the Chozian government praised Munsundiok's achievements and gave him a high position. The fact that he was the first Chozian person to experience Western culture and have it recorded, I think these things make his drift even more special. The area he drifted to was not beyond Southeast Asia. However, the experience of traveling to a place steeped in Western civilization would have been a cultural shock unimaginable in Joseon society. Thanks a lot for watching.